A single-engine aircraft departed from Capunda Canoa, Brazil, lost altitude in the period immediately following takeoff and struck a pole before coming down into a restaurant.
Caiu um avião aqui, um helicóptero, não sei o que caiu aqui, meu. Foi um avião. Ah, de certo, morreu todo mundo dentro queimado. Meu Deus do céu, gente, olha isso aqui. Sangue de Jesus tem poder, meu. Jesus, sangue de Jesus tem poder. Tinha gente em casa ali, a senhorinha saiu, tava tomando café. Meu Deus do céu, sangue de Jesus tem poder. Olha isso aí, gente.
The 4 occupants of the aircraft did not survive the crash. At the time the plane hit the building, the restaurant was not open. No residents from the surrounding homes sustained injuries. Sources indicate the aircraft carried no black box. When a flight data recorder is absent from a small single-engine aircraft, investigators are limited to physical evidence at the crash site and any available witness accounts. The cause of the crash had not been determined as of the time this was recorded. On the afternoon of June 14, 1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin was in Great Smoky Mountains National Park with his father, Bill Martin, his grandfather, and his older brother. The family had traveled to Spencefield, a remote high country area along the Appalachian Trail, for Father's Day weekend. Late that afternoon, Dennis and several other boys decided to play a prank on the adults. The plan was to split up along the trail, hide from view, and jump out as the adults passed by. The boys divided into 2 groups to approach the adults from different directions. Dennis went one way, the other boys went another. The other boys returned. Dennis did not. Bill Martin began calling for him immediately and searched the area on foot. There was no response, no movement, no sign of a child in a bright red shirt. The terrain around Spencefield is steep and heavily wooded. A child could move out of sight within seconds, and if Dennis had wandered off the trail, fallen, or become disoriented, the forest could have concealed him almost immediately. Not long after Dennis disappeared, a heavy rainstorm moved into the mountains. Whatever tracks or scent trail he may have left were eliminated in real time. By nightfall, temperatures had dropped significantly. Dennis had been dressed for a summer day outing, not for an unplanned night in the wilderness. Family members and park rangers continued searching through the night. By the following morning, the search had expanded into a full-scale operation. Rangers and park personnel formed the initial response, joined quickly by volunteers, Boy Scouts, and horse teams covering ground-level terrain. Helicopters surveyed the area from the air, while National Guard members in Green Berets brought additional trained personnel to the search. Thousands of people participated before the operation concluded. At its peak, approximately 1,400 searchers were involved in a single day. More than 56 square miles were ultimately covered in total. Despite that scale, no physical evidence was recovered, indicating what had happened to Dennis. No clothing was found, no personal effects were located, no sign of any kind. No trace of the child or any indication of where he had gone was recovered across the entire operation. Small footprints were found in the area. They appeared to belong to a child and seemed to lead toward a stream before stopping. The prints were identified as Oxford-type shoe prints. Dennis had been wearing Oxford-type shoes, which drew immediate investigator attention to the prints. Officials ultimately concluded the prints were most likely left by a Boy Scout participating in the search, not by Dennis. A separate account came from a man named Harold Key. He claimed he heard a scream shortly after Dennis disappeared, a scream he described as terrible. Key also claimed that shortly after hearing it, he saw a rough-looking man moving quickly through the area with something red draped over his shoulders. Dennis had been wearing a red shirt, which drew attention to Key's account. Investigators identified 2 specific problems with it. First, the man Key described was located too far from Dennis's last known position for the sighting to be geographically consistent with a disappearance. Second, too little time had elapsed between Dennis vanishing and the reported sighting for the account to fit the established timeline. Both park rangers and the FBI concluded there was insufficient evidence to connect Key's account to what had happened to Dennis. 3 theories have been advanced to account for Dennis's disappearance. The first is abduction. Despite the investigative conclusions regarding Kay's account, the abduction theory did not dissipate from the case record. It persisted in the years following the search and remained a point of ongoing discussion among those familiar with the case. Bill Martin believed his son had been taken. The second is that Dennis became lost and died in the wilderness shortly after disappearing. Officials lean toward this explanation. It accounts for the absence of physical evidence without requiring an external actor. The third is an animal attack, typically theorized to involve a bear or a feral hog. This theory has its own evidentiary problems. No blood was found anywhere in the search area. No torn clothing was recovered. No physical indicators of a violent encounter were identified at any point during the operation. The active search was called off on June 29. It had run for approximately 2 weeks. The stated reasons for suspension were exhausted volunteers, no remaining active leads, and no evidence recovered across the entire search operation. Dennis Martin was never found. On April 2, 2026, in Hupia, a truck was traveling at high speed with an inconsistent and unsafe movement pattern. The driver passed through a stop sign without stopping and crossed into oncoming lanes. 2 police officers on motorcycles moved to intercept the vehicle and signal the driver to pull over. The truck left the road before any stop was achieved. It descended a steep slope and entered a river below. The driver did not survive. Authorities have identified 2 possible causes, a medical episode or a microsleep event, but have not confirmed either. Microsleep events are documented as brief, involuntary lapses in consciousness that can occur without warning, particularly in commercial driving contexts. Scott Lilly, 30 years old, was from South Bend, Indiana. In the summer of 2011, he decided to hike the Appalachian Trail. Scott had a strong interest in the Civil War, and that interest drew him toward Virginia, a state he would be traveling through for a significant stretch of his Maryland to Georgia route, and one with extensive Civil War history across its landscape. He did not have extensive long-distance hiking experience at the time he set out. On June 15, 2011, Scott departed on a southbound route, planning to hike from Maryland to Springer Mountain in Georgia. For someone without a background in long-distance hiking, this was not a modest undertaking. The southbound route from Maryland to Georgia covers hundreds of miles of varied and demanding terrain. By the time he reached Virginia, he had made his way into the mountains in Nelson County and was hiking a stretch of trail near the Priest, a rugged section that climbs above 4,000 feet. The Priest and the surrounding Nelson County terrain represented one of the more physically demanding waypoints on the southbound route, and reaching it confirmed he had covered substantial distance from his Maryland starting point. The Virginia high country section he was navigating was among the more challenging portions of the southbound journey, and his documented progress through it indicated he had continued moving along the trail. Around July 31, 2011, Scott's last known point of contact or sighting occurred. Investigators believe he may have been heading toward Cow Camp Gap Shelter, a wooden structure along the trail that serves as a stopping point for hikers moving through that section. From Cow Camp Gap, he may have planned to continue into Buena Vista, a small trail town with resupply options. Both of these are investigator assessments, not confirmed facts about his movements. The Appalachian Trail operates on a shelter-to-shelter model in which hikers move independently between waypoints along the route. Hikers are spread out and moving at their own pace, and gaps in contact between individuals are a standard feature of long-distance trail travel. Days can pass between a hiker's last known contact point and any reported concern. The trail is a physically and communicatively isolating environment, and that isolation is a structural feature of the experience rather than an exception. Because of these trail dynamics, Scott's absence from contact did not immediately register as a crisis. The conditions of trail life provided a period during which his disappearance was not yet distinguishable from ordinary gaps in communication between hikers. On August 12, 2011, a group of hikers found a body near the side trail leading to Cow Camp Gap shelter. The body was in a shallow grave. It was identified as Scott Lilly. Investigators believed Scott had been dead for approximately 12 days at the time of the discovery. That estimate placed his death around late July, consistent with his last known contact. The shallow grave indicated deliberate concealment. Cow Camp Gap was a well-used recreation area. Hikers passed through it as part of their route along that section of trail, and campers made use of the site as well. The shelter along that section was a known stopping point for people traveling through. The body had been placed in a location that saw consistent trail traffic from both hikers in transit and campers staying in the area. The site was secluded enough to permit concealment, but not remote enough to prevent eventual discovery by those passing through. In January 2012, the medical examiner officially ruled Scott's death a homicide. The cause of death was asphyxia by suffocation. Several of Scott's belongings were missing and were never recovered. His backpack was not found. His trail shoes, described as relatively new, were not found. A Nintendo game was missing. His Appalachian Trail Handbook was also unaccounted for. Investigators did not publicly establish a connection between the missing belongings and the circumstances of the killing. Because the killing occurred on federal land, the FBI assumed primary investigative responsibility. Federal land jurisdiction placed the case under federal authority rather than state or local oversight. Multiple agencies worked alongside the FBI in the investigation. National Park Service Rangers, U.S. Forest Service officers, Virginia State Police, and local authorities each contributed personnel and resources to the case. Investigators collected more than 100 pieces of evidence. They covered more than 270 miles of trail in the course of the investigation. They conducted 83 interviews with hikers who had been in the area around the time of Scott's death. Those interviews extended beyond the immediate trail corridor, reaching individuals across multiple states and into foreign countries, reflecting the geographic spread of hikers who had passed through that section of trail during the relevant period. 1 year after the murder, the FBI announced a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. The announcement came on the 1-year mark and specified the conditions, arrest and conviction, as the threshold for the reward. Despite the evidence collection, the trail coverage, the 83 interviews conducted across multiple states and countries, and the public reward announcement, the investigative effort did not produce a publicly identified suspect or establish what happened to Scott Lilly in his final hours on the trail. What happened to Scott Lilly in that stretch of Virginia backcountry has remained unknown. The case remains unsolved. What do you make of all this? Let me know in the comments down below and brace yourself for this next case. This happened in Watervolen. A truck came to a stop inside a tunnel after breaking down. Traffic behind it halted in sequence. A second truck was approaching from the rear and reportedly experienced brake failure. A collision followed. According to reports, 1 person died and 13 others were injured. Stopped vehicles inside tunnels present a documented high-risk scenario. Limited visibility and reduced stopping distance compound the danger for any traffic approaching from behind. On January 18, 2026, Officer Shivdev Dillon of the Marina Heights, California Police Department conducted a traffic stop on a gray van for having no front license plate and expired registration tags. A missing front license plate and expired registration are minor vehicle code violations that would ordinarily result in a citation. The driver was Ronald Kyron Tinsley II, 31 years old. a seaside resident known locally as a rapper under the name Lil Caesar. Dylan recognized Tinsley from prior encounters. Those encounters included an arrest for being a felon in possession of ammunition. More recently, Tinsley had faced felony domestic violence charges. Officers were reportedly injured during that arrest.
What's up, man? My name's Archie, done with the Marine Police Department. The reason I pulled you over is because your registration's expired.
Yes, sir. So, pretty much had a few things that I needed to get done with the vehicle.
Okay.
And get me worked out.
Cool. You got your driver's license on you, bro?
Good. You flipped it though before you even knew my registration was.
Well, it looked like you had no front plate, so I was gonna try to confirm that.
Yeah.
Is that front plate? It didn't look like it.
Well, that's what I'm working.
So
I'm working
that's
on
what
everything
originally
right
caught
now.
my
Yes, sir.
attention, and then when I was behind you, I saw the registration
Yeah.
was also expired.
So the reason that I'm moving the vehicle right now is so that I can get the
Okay.
things done.
Center 8X2. One by number. Us at Tinsley, out of Monterey, switch. Registration, insurance? Are you on probation or anything like that? No? Give me a second. Go ahead.
Just work here.
At the time of the stop, Tinsley was out on bail. A court order prohibited him from owning firearms. A separate court order prohibited him from contacting the alleged victim in the domestic violence case. Police records tied him to the Crips gang and to possible narcotics activity. When Dylan reached the driver's side of the van, he observed Tinsley on his phone. This raised concern about a possible violation of the no contact order. Dylan ordered Tinsley to step out of the vehicle. The situation remained tense. Dylan then reached into the van and turned off the ignition.
A lot harder time. Okay. So, open the door. Put your right hand behind your head. Your right hand behind your head.
Okay. No, wait. I
Hold
don't
on.
like
Step
this.
out, dude.
I'm coming.
Step out.
I'm coming. I just
Step
don't
out.
like this. Stop, dude. Stop, sir. Stop the car. Stop the car. Get into the vehicle. Stop the. No, dude. Stop. Stop. Okay. Stop. Stop. No. Stop, dude. No. Stop. No. Stop! No! Stop! If you have a gun, I'm gonna shoot you in the back of the head right now! Do it! Hey, he has a gun! He has a gun! No, don't do it! Yeah!
Under A-Link to 3, come on, 3. They're calling killers to the vehicle.
Your incident has been updated.
Hey, that's one. Shots fired. Shots fired. Center copy. Shots fired.
Your incident has been updated.
Hey, that's one. Sergeant Supervisor. Hey, that's one copy. Sergeant Supervisor. Any officers hit? Dylan needs help getting out of the vehicle. I don't believe he's hit. Suspect. Possibly down. Stage A mark. Center copy. No officers hit.
No, don't do it! Yeah! No!
Center 8X1, shots fired, shots fired! Stop, Dylan, get out of the car!
Tinsley accelerated the van. The acceleration occurred immediately after the ignition was turned off. The vehicle dragged Officer Dylan approximately 300 feet before stopping. After the van came to a stop, Dylan stated that Tinsley had a gun. The object was a loaded, unregistered .38 caliber revolver. The weapon was recovered from the vehicle at the scene. Officers say Tinsley pointed the revolver toward another officer standing outside the vehicle. Dillon fired one shot into Tinsley's left shoulder blade, striking a major artery. A second officer also fired but did not strike Tinsley. Officers immediately attempted to provide aid. Tinsley was pronounced dead at the scene. A small amount of methamphetamine was found inside the van. The Monterey County District Attorney's preliminary findings concluded that the officers acted in self-defense against an immediate and serious threat. This is a preliminary finding, not a final legal determination. The DA's findings were based on body camera footage, reviewed alongside physical evidence collected at the scene. The shooting prompted protests in the community. Vigils were held in the days that followed. Calls for transparency were directed at law enforcement by community members and Tinsley's family. Community members and his family raised questions about whether de-escalation tactics, additional distance, or non-lethal options could have prevented his death.
Today has been very overwhelming. I lost my firstborn son. I lost one of the legacies of my family. I saw my son had been put in an ambulance for about 2-3 hours. And I kept asking the police if my son was alive, or was he dead, or what was going on with my son. I couldn't get any information. I asked them, police officers, what if that was your child? Could you imagine what I'm going through right now, the not knowing? And I just feel like they just stole moments from me yesterday. And they also stole my son. He didn't deserve to be shot.
Brace yourself, you might not be ready for this next case. In the months before Derek Luking disappeared in March 2012, his father had noticed changes in his behavior. Derek, 24 years old, had started drinking and smoking. His family considered this out of character for him. According to his family, he also appeared unhappy with the direction his life was taking. On March 15, 2012, Derek did not appear for work. Calls to his phone went unanswered. A mutual friend notified his roommate Ryan, who contacted Derek's family. The Luking family drove through the night from Virginia to Tennessee. When they arrived, they went through his belongings, searching for anything that might explain where he had gone. On his computer, they found searches related to Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a section of the Appalachian Mountains. They also found a hotel reservation. His presence in the area had been planned, and his plan had led him toward the North Carolina side of the Smokies. Specifically, 2 days elapsed between his failure to appear for work on March 15 and the next confirmed record of his whereabouts. On March 17, 2012, surveillance footage at the Microtel Inn and Suites in Cherokee, North Carolina, recorded Derek leaving the hotel at approximately 4 a.m. He was carrying only a day pack. That footage represents the last confirmed sighting of Derek Luking. In his hotel room, investigators found a Bible resting on the bed. A liquor bottle was on the floor. Later that morning, Derek's white Ford Escape was located in Newfound Gap, a high elevation point in the Smokies near the Tennessee-North Carolina line. His family found the vehicle themselves while searching for him. Inside was a note. Its text read, "Do not follow me." Also found inside the vehicle were maps of the national park and a tent and sleeping bag. Food, cord, cutting tools, and lights were also present, along with additional survival items. The majority of this gear had been left behind in the vehicle. His wallet was still there. His cash remained as well. Derek had purchased sufficient equipment for an extended wilderness stay, yet carried none of it with him when he left the vehicle. His family said Derek was a fan of the television program Man vs. Wild. Search and rescue teams deployed to the area. Approximately 60 people and 3 dog teams participated in the search. More than 70 miles of trail around the Newfound Gap parking area were covered. Rangers canvassed the area, asking whether anyone had seen a young man matching Derek's description or noticed anything unusual in Newfound Gap that day. The day had been sunny, with people hiking and picnicking in the area. No reliable witness emerged to confirm Derek's presence in Newfound Gap. One possible sighting along Newfound Gap Road suggested he may have entered the woods from that location. That lead produced no result. 3 theories have been advanced to account for Derek's disappearance. The first is that Derek entered the wilderness deliberately and did not intend to return. Within this theory, 2 distinct possibilities exist: that he intended to end his life, or that he intended to disappear from his existing life entirely and not return to it. The note found in the vehicle is cited in connection with both variants, as is his family's account of his behavioral changes: the drinking, the smoking, the expressed unhappiness in the months preceding this disappearance. The evidentiary problem with this theory is the survival gear. Derek purchased an extensive set of equipment prior to his departure, which is inconsistent with the decision not to survive. The second theory is that Derek intended some form of wilderness survival experience. His family's account of his interest in Man vs. Wild is the primary support for this framing. The program features a stripped-down approach to wilderness survival, and the family's attribution of his interest in that format provides the context for this theory. Its evidentiary problem mirrors the first. The equipment that would have made a survival experience possible was left behind in the vehicle rather than carried into the park. The third theory is foul play. Under this account, Derek may have planned to scout the area first and then return to the vehicle for his gear before proceeding further into the park. During that window between his departure and his intended return, he may have encountered someone with harmful intent. The note found in the vehicle may have been a genuine statement of Derek's intentions before he entered the park. Alternatively, it may have been placed there to mislead whoever found the vehicle. The evidentiary problems with this theory are substantial. No body has been recovered, no blood was found, no torn clothing was identified, no confirmed witnesses placed Derek in the park after his hotel departure, and no definitive physical sign of an attack or abduction was established. All three theories remained unsolved. Around the same time as Derek's disappearance, another young man went missing in the same general area of the Smokies. Michael Giovanni Cuccini was last seen by friends on March 18, 2012, one day after Derek was last captured on surveillance footage. During the search for Derek, rangers found Cuccini's abandoned vehicle parked along a walkway off Newfound Gap Road. That location was not a standard starting point for a backcountry hiking trip. It was an unusual place to leave a vehicle for someone beginning a trail journey. Cuccini was extensively searched for during the initial effort, without result. Months later, a backpack and human remains were discovered in the park near the area associated with his disappearance. The remains were identified as Cuccini's. His case had a confirmed physical resolution, but the circumstances of his death were not publicly explained. The question of whether the two cases were connected was raised. That connection has not been confirmed. Derek's case produced no equivalent resolution. No physical evidence placing him in the park after his hotel departure was recovered. No suspect was identified in connection with his disappearance. No confirmed account of his movements after leaving the Microtel Inn and Suites has ever been established. More than a decade later, Derek Luking is still missing. You thought that was disturbing. This is nothing compared to this next case. In a small apartment complex in Seattle, a 10-year-old girl lived with her mother, Darla, a military veteran diagnosed with severe PTSD. Earlier that day, Darla had promised to take her daughter out to see the lights of Seattle. Taking her daughter to see the city lights was not something that happened often, which gave the promise particular weight. The outing did not occur. During the afternoon, the child pleaded with her mother to stop. Darla yelled at her, shoved her into a corner, slammed her head against the wall, and kicked her in the stomach. The child had not eaten all day. She was still wearing her jacket and boots at the time. Darla told the child that no one would care if she ran away.
You live in building 23?
I do.
Okay, and then she ran out when you were coming home?
Yeah, so I don't know well, I guess you came from that way, but I came from the other entrance, and I was going up the hill. Okay. Before I turned left to go down this hill, she was just standing at the corner waving me down.
Like out on the street?
Yeah.
Oh. And then I think dispatch mentioned she has bruising?
Yeah, she does have like a little bruise on her forehead. I guess it happened yesterday.
Okay. She mentioned anything about like mom hitting her?
Yes.
Or anything?
After we talked about it a little bit more, she has mentioned her mom is quite abusive actually.
Okay.
And has history in the police system, I believe. She said she goes to court, stuff like that.
Okay.
While Darla was watching a loud movie, the child slipped out of the apartment. She ran into the road. She waved down passing cars. Her goal was to reach her grandfather.
Just trying to get more information as to what's going on here. Just try to figure out what's happening. You ever talked to the police before? Yeah? Okay. And Annika was telling me that you live around here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Kind of far.
Well, I mean, just tell me what's happening. What's going on?
This morning I got up. My mom told me that while the house was clean, for the last time I started clean. I woke up, she told me to clean, and today she said that we were going to go see Seattle lights.
Okay.
But then she's like, no, we're not going to go. And then we had to take out garbage. And She told me to look for something. She told me to look for a shoe or whatever in the car, and then I couldn't find it, and I said it wasn't there. And then she said, "Did you shut up?" And then she put me in the corner, and then she started hitting me, and then she kicked me. And she told me to stay in the corner, and it happens often.
Okay.
She has PTSD from the military.
Okay.
And she always gets mad at me. For no reason sometimes.
When you said she's hitting you? Sorry, I know it's hard, but could you, like, what does that look like?
She hits me like this.
Yeah?
Sometimes she uses her fist and like does this, like that. And this morning, when she told me to go to the corner, she pushes my head to like the wall corner part.
Yeah?
And sometimes when she tells me to go to the corner, she goes to sleep and she forgets to tell me to get out of the corner. And she forgets to tell me, so sometimes I just stand there all day until I fall asleep. And then the next morning she tells me to get out of bed or get out of the corner, and then she tells me to start cleaning again.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And she hits me a lot. Even we used to live in with my grandpa.
Yeah.
He used to take care of me when my mom used to work.
That's who you were trying to go visit now? You were trying to get to your grandpa?
So he could talk to her. He's the only person that she'll listen to. But after a while, she just goes back to normal.
The child later described a pattern of abuse that extended beyond that afternoon. She stated that Darla frequently became angry without warning. The documented methods, as the child described them, included being hit with open hands, fists, and kicks. On some nights, she was forced to stand in a corner for hours, sometimes until she collapsed from exhaustion. Darla often blamed the child for her father leaving, and the child described this as a recurring pattern rather than an isolated statement. The child stated that the abuse continued even during periods when they stayed at her grandfather's home. The injuries sustained during those days were documented.
I tried to go see my grandpa so I could tell him about what's happening. Because she said that she wouldn't care if I ran away.
Yeah.
Just like, because my other brother and sister, she had to run away before. And my dad left soon, I was 3. And my brothers and sisters, they're my half brothers and sisters. So their dad took them away. And so my mom has a lot of trauma, and my dad used to beat her.
Oh, okay.
Because he was a drunk.
Wow.
So my mom had a lot of trauma. And so she just takes it out of me. She yells at me. And she told me that the reason why he left was because of me.
Wow. Yeah, that's horrible. I'm sorry.
Officers who responded found a fresh bruise on the child's forehead. They noted her pain from the stomach kick specifically. They also documented that she had not eaten all day at the time she was kicked. Firefighters were called to examine her injuries. Child Protective Services was notified. Officers returned to the apartment and spoke with Darla. She became angry and aggressive during the interaction, and her demeanor was hostile from the outset of the conversation. The account she provided was not found credible by the responding officers.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? She's got a pretty severe marks on the front of her, okay? We go into your apartment and we start looking at those walls in there. Are we going to find evidence that her face was on those walls?
What do you mean? Like...
Did you hurt her?
No.
Okay, have you disciplined her recently? Okay? You're allowed to discipline your child. We're just trying to find out the extent of it to find out whether or not it's something that we need to be involved in more seriously and escalate this real high up, or whether or not we can just have a plain conversation with it.
She's been, okay, when we were at that party, I had her wear a mask because she's, like, been really sick. When she gets cranky, she, like at that party, like, I told her...
Let's talk about today. Okay? She's got marks from today. Tell me how she got those marks today.
I don't know. I don't know what she felt. I know she was playing with her friends and kept goofing around on Friday, and today we were moving around the stuff because we went to the storage. We climbed into my storage.
Darla, can you breathe?
I've been walking around.
Okay. You having trouble breathing right now?
I have a brain aneurysm. Whenever it gets too high, I start hitting my head. I fell before. I fell at work and I hit my head.
Okay. How long ago was that?
In September, so they've had me on.
Is there any issue? Is there anything that you have any medical issues that's preventing you from breathing right now?
Asthma.
You have asthma. Okay.
The The child was taken to safety, likely placed with her grandfather or into protective care. Darla faced charges. Records suggest this was not her first arrest, with prior incidents connected to untreated PTSD. No public updates on the child's condition or the outcome of the case have been made available. Under Washington state privacy laws protecting minors, that information has not been released. Keep watching because our next case is undeniably horrifying. Louise Chaput was 52 years old, a mother of two, and had a long history with the outdoors. Forests, mountains, and quiet places were a consistent part of her life. They were where she found peace. She had grown up hiking and skiing, giving her a direct prior experience with mountain terrain and conditions. She had also climbed Mount Washington specifically, making the White Mountains a region she knew rather than unfamiliar territory. In November 2001, she had planned a hiking trip with friends to that region. When those plans fell through, she did not cancel. She had made the trip to a region she knew and had traveled to before, and that familiarity informed her decision to continue independently. She packed her silver Ford Focus station wagon, left Quebec, and drove south toward New Hampshire. Her destination was Pinkham Notch Lodge in the White Mountains section of the Appalachian Mountains. She planned to spend a few days there and return home in time for work on Monday, November 19th, a clear timeline that established the expected duration of her trip. Mount Washington, the dominant peak in that section of the White Mountains, is documented for extreme cold that can reach dangerous levels with limited warning. The area is known for high winds that compound the cold significantly. Conditions can deteriorate with almost no notice, shifting from manageable to severe within a short period. Even a brief walk in that terrain in late November carries documented risk. A slip, a wrong turn, or extended exposure to the cold can each become serious in that environment. Louise was familiar with this. She had climbed the mountain previously and had grown up hiking and skiing. She crossed into the United States through Vermont shortly before noon on Thursday, November 15th. By mid-afternoon, she had reached the visitor center area. She stopped and asked a clerk to recommend a short walk, something easy, something she could complete before dark. The clerk directed her to Lost Pond Trail. Louise was not setting out on a backcountry expedition. She was looking for a brief walk to stretch her legs after the long drive from Quebec, something accessible and completable before dark, to begin her multi-day stay at the lodge. Lost Pond Trail, located directly across the road from the lodge, fit that description. Louise did not return that day. When she failed to come back to Quebec and did not appear for work on Monday, her boyfriend contacted New Hampshire authorities. The search began. Investigators initially believed weather may have been a factor in her disappearance. Searchers worked from 3 specific scenarios: that she may have suffered a fall, that she may have succumbed to exposure, or that she may have become disoriented and lost. These 3 possibilities formed the primary framework guiding the search operation. Louise's silver Ford Focus station wagon was found in the visitor center parking lot, confirming she had entered the trail area. The search drew personnel from multiple agencies: New Hampshire Fish and Game, Mountain Rescue Services, Androscoggin Valley Search and Rescue, and the U.S. Forest Service. When teams entered the terrain, they were met by high winds, blowing snow, bitter cold, and wind chills well below zero. In those conditions, when a missing person may be injured or exposed, every hour the search matters. The first day produced no result. On the second day, conditions improved somewhat. That partial improvement allowed a helicopter from the U.S. Army National Guard to join the effort, extending search coverage from the air. The second day also produced no result. On the afternoon of Thursday, November 22nd, Thanksgiving Day in the United States, members of New Hampshire Fish and Game found Louise's body. The location placed her close to the trailhead and near where her car had been parked. She had not traveled deep into the backcountry. The body was only a short distance from a well-used area of the trail corridor. In the immediate aftermath of the discovery, the confirmed public information was limited to the fact that her body had been found. 2 days later, the medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. That ruling reclassified the case from a missing person investigation to a homicide. Louise Chaput had been stabbed multiple times. No suspect was ever identified. More than 2 decades later, her case is still unsolved. I want to know your thoughts in this case. Let me know in the comments, and while you're doing that, let's move on to this next case. The date was February 6, 2014. 5 experienced Finnish cave divers descended into Plura, a cave complex located in northern Norway, with a specific traverse in mind. Their planned route would take them through the flooded passage system and out through Steinugelflaget, an exit point situated within the mountain's interior. The 5, Patrick Grungfist, Jerry Warinen, Kai Kincannon, Jerry Uzimaki, and Visa Rantanen were experienced divers, none of them unfamiliar with the discipline's demands. The conditions at Plura were consistent with what the environment offered. Water temperature barely above the freezing threshold, narrow corridors through the rock, and a descent to approximately 132 meters at the route's lowest point. To manage visibility, the team adopted a split structure. Patrick and Jerry Warinen entered the water first as planned. The remaining 3 held back, allowing the disturbed silt to settle before they followed. Approximately 1 hour after entering the cave, deep within the system, Patrick discovered Jerry Warinen wedged inside one of the passage's narrowest sections. In cave diving, entrapment at depth removes 2 critical options. There is no direct descent to the surface, and the confined geometry of the passage limits the ability of another driver to maneuver freely around the problem. Patrick worked to free him. At extreme depth, physiological stress accelerates respiration. Rapid breathing produces a buildup of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream, a process that compounds psychological deterioration and worsens the stress response rather than alleviating it. Despite these efforts, Jerry Warinen died within the cave. Patrick's position then became structurally constrained. He had accumulated a significant decompression obligation during the dive, a depth incurred at depth that demands a staged descent with mandatory stops to allow nitrogen to be safely eliminated from the body. Bypassing those stops would have risked decompression sickness. There was no expedited exit available to him. He had no communications equipment linking him to the second group. With no mechanism to transmit a warning, he proceeded toward the exit, aware that Visa, Jerry Uzumaki, and Kai were still behind him and would arrive at the same passage. Visa Rantanen reached Jerry Warinen's body first. Passing it required time he could not easily spare. Each additional minute at depth increased the pressure on his own decompression schedule. Jerry Uzumaki arrived next. That discovery appears to have been more than he was able to withstand. Kai Kincannon tried to intervene, but the situation had moved beyond intervention. Jerry Uzumaki did not survive the dive. Of the 5, 3 surfaced. Patrick spent approximately 7 hours in the water. Kai Kincannon emerged after approximately 11 hours underground. 2 divers, Jerry Warinen and Jerry Uzumaki, remained inside the cave. The cave was closed by Norwegian authorities, who dispatched a professional recovery team. That operation was subsequently terminated. The assessed risk of sending further divers into the passage was judged too high to continue. Within the diving community and among those who survived, this outcome was documented as one they found deeply difficult to accept. Several weeks after the official closure, a larger team of Finnish divers returned to the cave without authorization from Norwegian authorities. The operation was not improvised. Staging plans were developed in advance. Support divers were positioned throughout the route. Helmet-mounted cameras documented the entire process. Over multiple days, the team recovered both bodies. Afterward, they disclosed the operation to Norwegian police. Norwegian authorities elected not to pursue charges. The dive plan called for Patrick and Jerry Warinen to enter first, and for the second group to follow once conditions had improved. That separation was a deliberate mitigation, intended to allow visibility to recover before the second group committed to the passage. What it also produced was a structural gap in information flow. Patrick had no mechanism to alert those behind him. He proceeded toward the exit knowing they would arrive at the same narrow section where Jerry Warinen had died. The question the confirmed absence of any communication channel raises is whether the split group approach, designed specifically to reduce one category of risk by improving visibility, simultaneously removed the only possible means by which the second group could have been warned before entering that same section, and whether a dive plan that separates 2 groups by design can be considered adequately safeguarded when no channel exists to transmit information from the first group to the second. On October 8, 1976, 16-year-old Trenny Gibson traveled to the Great Smoky Mountains on a school trip with approximately 40 students from Bearden High School in Knoxville, Tennessee. Trenny was quiet and well-liked. She had an interest in plants, was taking horticulture in school, and hoped to study landscape architecture. The group's destination was Andrews Bald and Forney Ridge. The weather that day was damp and chilly, poor enough that the trip could have been canceled. Trenny was underdressed for the conditions. She had left her coat in Knoxville and was wearing a blouse, sweater, jeans, and tennis shoes. Another student, Robert Simpson, loaned her his wool jacket. Students were instructed to stay on the trail, not to go beyond Andrews Bald, and return to the bus by 3:30 p.m. After the group reached Andrews Bald and ate lunch, Trenny separated from Robert Simpson at around 1:30 p.m. He later said he wanted to head back toward the bus while he remained behind. As she made her way back along the trail, other students saw her. One girl walked with her briefly. Another group invited her to stop and sit with them. Trenny declined and continued. One student later recalled that she appeared to be in a hurry. At approximately 2:50 p.m., witnesses saw Trenny walk a short distance ahead, stop, bend down, and step off the trail to the right by herself. That is the last confirmed sighting of Trenny Gibson. The trail she had been walking was a marked, well-used route in one of the most visited sections of the park, not a remote backcountry path. When students returned to the bus around 3:30 p.m., Trenny was not there. Her teacher, Wayne Dunlap, began searching almost immediately. Another student also searched. Neither found any trace of Trenny. No indication of which direction she had gone. No response to calls. No physical sign of her location. By around 4:30 p.m., rangers had been contacted and the case became an official missing persons search. Conditions at the time of the search were deteriorating rapidly. Evening was approaching at the same time that rain, fog, and wind were moving into the area. The fading light and the worsening weather arrived together, making both ground movement and visibility progressively worse as the hours passed. Temperatures were failing. The trails were slick with wet leaves. Broken undergrowth was found near the location where Trenny was last seen. 3 cigarette butts were also recovered in that area. A partially consumed can of beer was found nearby. Investigators noted the combination of these items as a possibility. The presence of another person in the area was not confirmed. The most significant finding came from tracking dogs. Given Trenny's scent, the dogs followed it past the Klingman's Dome lookout point to a location approximately 1.5 miles away where the scent trail ended. Some investigators advanced this as a possibility. It was not confirmed that the pattern suggested she may have moved toward the road rather than deeper into the wilderness. Approximately 756 people participated in the broader search. Nothing conclusive was found. The FBI opened an investigation. The FBI reviewed reported sightings of Trenny in the period following her disappearance. None of those sightings produced a confirmed result. 2 theories have been advanced to account for Trenny's disappearance. One theory holds that she reached the road and encountered someone with harmful intent. Others believe that someone present in the area that day had knowledge of what happened and did not disclose it. Both theories remain unresolved, but nearly 50 years later, there is still no body, no proven crime scene, and no clear answer as to what happened to her. This is dashcam footage from Iraq. A truck was traveling at high speed through traffic. At some point during that passage, the driver lost control. The vehicle then moved through the surrounding traffic. High-speed loss of control incidents involving heavy vehicles in traffic are a documented category of road fatality where the mass of the vehicle compounds the impact severity across multiple points of contact. The confirmed death toll from this incident is 10 people. No further specifics about the location within the country or the identities of those involved are documented in the available record. On November 1st, 2025, a family of 4, including 2 children, was traveling in a Chevy Cruze along Stewartsville Road in Bedford County, Virginia. A gray Dodge Ram truck belonging to Jay's Tree Service, a full-size commercial pickup operated by a tree service company, was traveling on the same road behind them, approaching at a significantly higher speed than the Cruze, making its closing distance more consequential for the smaller vehicle ahead. The speed differential caused the truck to close the distance between the 2 vehicles quickly as traffic conditions ahead began to change. As traffic built ahead, the driver of the Cruze moved to shift into the right lane to allow the faster-moving truck to pass, a standard driving response to a faster vehicle closing from behind, intended to create clearance between the 2 vehicles. As that lane change was underway, the collision occurred between the 2 vehicles. After the collision, the truck did not come to a stop. It continued down the road and left the scene without the driver stopping to render aid or exchange information. All 4 occupants of the Cruze were wearing seatbelts at the time of the collision. The occupants sustained cuts and bruises as a result of the impact, and the seatbelt use across all 4 occupants, including both children, was noted as a factor in the outcome. 2 of the 4 were transported to a hospital by family members for further medical evaluation. The remaining occupants received treatment at the scene. Dashcam footage of the collision was recorded from inside the Cruze at the time of the incident. That footage spread online in the days following the crash, showing the truck's company markings clearly visible on the vehicle and drawing public attention to the question of identification. Many who viewed the footage believed it played a role in identifying the truck. Dashcam footage has become a documented factor in hit-and-run investigations, providing evidence of vehicle identification in situations where witness accounts are limited or unavailable. Virginia State Police confirmed that an investigation into the incident was underway in the days following the footage spread online. According to Virginia State Police, charges were pending at the time of that confirmation, and this next case will surely send chills down your spine. On September 25, 1981, 58-year-old Thelma Melton, known as Polly, set out on the Deep Creek Trail in the Appalachian Mountains with 2 friends, Pauline Cannon and Trula Gudger. The trail was one of Polly's favorites, familiar, well-used, and easy to follow. The weather that day was warm. The creek was shallow from drought. The trail was busy with other hikers. Before leaving, Polly had made homemade spaghetti sauce as part of the ordinary routines of her day. She expected to return and finish them. Her husband, Robert, was waiting at the trailhead. The initial portion of the hike proceeded without incident, and Polly appeared to be in good spirits. Approximately 1 hour into the hike, around 4 p.m., the 3 women reached the turnaround point and started back. Earlier in the hike, Polly had been walking more slowly than usual. At the turnaround, she suddenly increased her pace. One of her friends joked that they were not gonna race her. Polly turned, laughed, and kept moving. Her health profile made the acceleration notable. Polly was a heavy smoker with high blood pressure. Her earlier slow pace had been consistent with that profile. The sudden increase in speed represented a documented contrast with both her physical condition and her behavior earlier that same afternoon. She moved ahead of her friends, went over a rise in the trail, and passed out of sight. Just before she disappeared over the rise, she had paused and waved at her friends. That wave was the last documented interaction anyone had with Polly Melton. Her friends initially assumed she was ahead of them on the trail or had hurried on as a joke. They continued back toward the trailhead expecting to find her there. When they arrived, Robert confirmed that Polly had not come back. The situation shifted at that point. What had seemed like a reasonable explanation no longer held. By that point, she had been out of sight for close to 1 hour. Her friends and their husbands returned to the trail to retrace the route. They asked other hikers along the trail and in the area near the last sighting whether anyone had seen her. No one had. No hiker on the trail had any account of seeing Polly after the point where she went over the rise. By approximately 6 p.m., park rangers had been contacted. Approximately 1 hour later, a formal search was underway. Investigators noted that Polly's shoes had a distinctive line across the sole that made her tracks easier to identify. That detail did not produce useful results. The trail had seen too much foot traffic from other hikers for her tracks to be isolated. The point at which Polly had stepped off the trail was never identified. Investigators could not establish where her departure from the path had occurred. Over the following weekend, the search expanded. Volunteers joined rangers, bloodhounds were brought in, and the trail was closed. Approximately 150 volunteers and 9 search dogs participated. When the search dogs were brought to the point of the last sighting, they reacted strongly. They picked up her scent, circled the area, and howled. They did not carry the trail in any direction. The dog's behavior produced no usable direction of travel, no lead toward the forest, no lead toward the road, no indication of which way Polly had moved from that point. No path leading away from the point was identified. No sign of her entering the forest was found. There was no evidence of a struggle. No clothing was recovered. No dropped belongings were found. Rangers ruled out exposure. Temperatures were mild. Rangers also ruled out animal predation. No animals in the area were considered large enough to have been responsible. After the leaves fell and visibility in the area improved, a helicopter surveyed the terrain from above. Nothing was found. The search officially ended October 2nd. Following the search, investigators examined Polly's circumstances in the days preceding her disappearance. A pastor who knew her stated that Polly had seemed somewhat depressed following her mother's recent death. Robert told the investigators that his prescription bottle of Valium was missing. 4 theories have been advanced to account for her disappearance. The first is that depression and medication played a role. Under this account, Polly may have been more deeply affected by her mother's death than those around her recognized, and may have taken the missing Valium. The medication could have caused disorientation that led her to move in a direction searchers did not anticipate. No confirmed evidence supports this theory, though. The second is voluntary departure. Polly had skipped a volunteer shift she was scheduled to attend. She had reportedly made unusual phone calls in the days immediately before her disappearance. Calls noted as unusual in character and falling within the window investigators examined. A road and parking area were located near the point where she was last seen, and her sudden acceleration on the trail could be consistent with moving to meet someone. A vehicle could have been waiting near that location at the time she increased her pace. Months after the disappearance, a check made out to Polly was cashed in Birmingham, Alabama, a city where her family had roots. Investigators examined the check but never established who had cashed it. Polly's family stated this theory was inconsistent with her character. She would not have deliberately abandoned her medication, her identification, her clothing, and the people in her life. The third is foul play. Polly was wearing jewelry and disappeared near a road and parking area. The road's proximity meant that vehicle access to that stretch of trail was possible, not only on foot. Those details her family pointed to as making foul play plausible given the accessibility of the location and the possibility of an opportunistic encounter. She could have been lured away, forced into a vehicle, or approached by someone with harmful intent. The evidentiary problem with this theory is the trail's public busy character. An attack or abduction in that setting should have drawn notice, and no witness came forward with a credible account of seeing Polly threatened or taken. Polly's family stated they considered foul play the most likely explanation. The fourth is natural death or accident. Rangers ruled out each of these explanations. Exposure was considered unlikely given the mild temperatures. Animal predation was ruled out. No animals in the area were considered large enough to have been responsible. The aerial helicopter survey found nothing. All 4 theories remain unresolved. Polly Mountain was declared legally dead in 1988. Her family held a memorial. The National Park Service, however, continues to list her as a missing person, a classification that remains distinct from the legal death declaration. And more than 4 decades later, the mystery has stayed the same. A woman on a familiar trail walked ahead of her friends, waved once, disappeared over a rise, and was never seen again. Soma Marine Fair, a carnival in Palmdale, California, had been open for approximately 90 minutes on June 3, 2010, when an incident occurred at one of its children's rides. The ride was the Wacky Worm, a small caterpillar-style coaster running along a compact figure-8 track. Several children were aboard when a carnival employee in his 20s, having come back from a break, approached the ride area. Operating that ride was not his assigned role. According to reports, there was no documented reason for him to be in that area. He stepped onto the track after opening a safety gate while the ride was in motion. He had his back turned and did not appear to know the coaster was approaching. The coaster struck him and knocked him onto the track. The children remained in their cars throughout. The ride then continued, moving over him before stopping. Emergency responders arrived quickly. The worker sustained a below-the-knee injury. The limb was severed. While paramedics readied him for transport, witnesses at the scene assisted in preserving the severed limb. Several of the children aboard witnessed the event. Others were directed away before seeing it. Restricted area controls at active amusement rides, including safety gates and designated operator zones, are designed to create a physical barrier between personnel and moving ride components, with the gate as the primary mechanism for enforcing that separation. Investigators determined that the ride had experienced no mechanical malfunction and that no operator error had taken place. The confirmed cause? The worker moved into a restricted zone with the ride actively running. Investigators confirmed both what did not cause this incident and what did. There was no failure in the ride's mechanical operation and no error by the operator running it. The safety gate, the designated barrier between the active track and the area beyond it, was open and crossed by someone with no assigned role at that ride. What those findings establish is a specific question about the gate itself, whether a barrier that can be opened from the outside by anyone approaching the ride, in the absence of any additional control, represents sufficient separation between personnel and an operating ride, and whether the confirmed sequence establishes that it did not. On July 30th, 2022, a confrontation occurred on the Apple River in Somerset, Wisconsin during a summer tubing outing. Nikolai MYUU, 52 years old at the time, was present among a group of tubers that included teenagers.
So you left with just you and your husband John that came?
No, Nick.
Nick?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see him the whole time he was off his tube?
Yes, I did. And I could see him. He was over there, and then he came back over, and then I just heard screaming.
This isn't real! This isn't real! Oh my God!
Is Nick known to carry, does he ever carry a weapon with him?
He had a knife in his pocket.
Well, we got some stuff to work out, okay?
Okay.
Because it was more than just some injuries. It was a pretty serious event that happened.
According to witness accounts, MYUU was harassing members of the group, moving into their space and interfering with their tubes. According to those same accounts, among those present, at least one individual became frightened enough to request assistance from strangers drifting past. Witnesses described him as escalating the confrontation from the outset and refusing to disengage when those around him attempted to push him away.
No, this is not happening right now. This is not happening right now. Oh my God. Please come. We're at Apple River. I don't.
Yep, we got help coming. Are you there with us?
Yes, we're here.
Thanks for calling 911. Where's the address of your emergency?
Hi, I'm at Apple River. We're on the river, and a guy just stabbed 3 people. A man's intestines are falling out of his body.
Oh, okay, stop right now. What's going on?
I'm on Apple River in Wisconsin.
I'll peek it this way if you peek it this way. Yep. They're doing CPR right now. If we could launch a boat here and get up there, that'd be awesome.
Suspect went under the woods at the initial location, a quarter mile upriver from the 64 bridge.
Did he go up on the north or south bank?
South bank.
He went up right here?
They don't know.
Okay.
No one knows.
Okay.
They said this region. They don't know exactly where.
Okay.
Are you 3 all witnesses? Friends of one of the victims, or
All of them.
all of them? Okay.
I just saw the video that the dude.
Oh, okay. You didn't see it in person happen though?
No.
Okay.
First saw him, he had scuba goggles. Yes, clear goggles.
Scuba goggles on? Okay.
We were just chilling, and then we saw this older guy start harassing these younger teenagers, and we're the type of people to not let that happen because they're young. So we tried to stop him, and he punched me in the face and then went literally crazy because all the guys started tagging him because he punched me in the face. So he took out a knife and he just started stabbing everybody, and that's what happened. Everybody was just, it's all because he punched me in the face. That's really why everybody just got stabbed.
If you're thinking by that statement that it's your fault, it most definitely is not, okay?
5 people sustained stab wounds during the confrontation. Among those stabbed was Isaac Schumann, 17 years old. Several victims were taken by emergency services to hospital, and investigators subsequently described the injuries sustained as severe. In the period following the incident, MYUU's conduct during questioning was documented. He spoke calmly with law enforcement. He minimized the significance of what had occurred. At points during questioning, his behavior suggested he did not understand why law enforcement was treating the matter with the seriousness it received, despite the fact that investigators had already assessed the injuries as severe.
Witness says that the male appears to be wearing a camel-colored shirt.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, yeah. No,
You're just being detained at this point, okay?
Yes.
36 dispatch, believe we have the suspect detained. Believe we have him detained at the south.
No.
No weapons or anything like that?
36 has a possible suspect detained at 1649.
What's your name?
Nick.
Nick what?
Nick MYUU.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. He's got a silver chain
matches.
Silver blockchain. Like I said, sir, you're just detained at this point, okay? We'll explain anything in a second here.
I'm still coming to Virgin. I'm just getting for Baldwin. And I need it.
The guy with the baseball bat was just responding to the sighting. Can you step out for a second? We just want to check.
Yeah, here somebody got stabbed. And I fit the description.
Yes, you do.
All right.
Yep, so we're working through that now. Did you see that fight on the river?
I heard about it.
You heard about it?
Yeah, and I seen people gather around.
Okay, all right.
And I went over to talk to see if somebody saw anything, but that's about it.
Okay.
Our whole group was pretty interested in finding out what happened.
Okay, and that's your whole group over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see anybody injured?
No.
You didn't see anybody injured? No. Did you see anybody fighting?
I heard people screaming at each other, yes.
Okay. Screaming in anger or screaming in pain, do you know?
Everybody's drunk, so I don't know. I can't tell the difference, but I would say, I don't know, just screaming.
Okay.
You know, calling each other names. That's seen that all day. We've all been drinking a lot. I'm sure they're drunk. I'm sure they're kids being kids.
Wisconsin's self-defense statutes require that force used be proportionate to the threat faced and that the defendant not have been the initial aggressor, meaning the conduct preceding the use of force is a legally relevant element of the self-defense analysis.
When I was there, you see, I was very, very scared. I didn't know what was going to happen next. So what happened? Can you tell me what happened?
Yes. 4 people went to the hospital with injuries.
Oh my God.
And 1 person died.
Oh no.
I don't know any of their names and I don't know any genders, so I don't know.
Was that because they fought each other, or is that?
I don't know. I don't know what their injuries are. I was with Sandy the whole time, and then when I kind of turned Sandy over to Ernesto and Amy, then I came here. So I have no idea what their injuries were.
Oh my God. What other pictures did they give you of me?
Just that one. That's the only one I have.
No, my whole life they've gone to tubes.
Well, I don't know if that's the case. Because people have the right to defend themselves.
I know, but this is Wisconsin.
This is Wisconsin.
Okay.
The central question before investigators, prosecutors, and the jury was whether MYUU had acted in self-defense. The jury convicted him. The judge then sentenced him to 20 years of imprisonment, to be followed by a period of extended supervision upon his release. The jury's verdict resolved the self-defense question in a specific direction. It rejected the claim. That rejection occurred against a backdrop of witness testimony describing MYUU as the party who had escalated the confrontation from the beginning, entering the space of the group, interfering with their equipment, and declining to withdraw when those present attempted to push him away.
One of the boys who got stabbed,
he was telling us that the dude, he came up to them and asked them for like pictures, like explicit pictures, and I'm like, what? And then y'all got the fighting? I guess they got the fighting. He said, yeah, then you got the stabbing them. So.
And he asked him or this is one of the guy who's actually got stabbed?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he got stabbed. He said that that's what happened. The dude was asking them for explicit pictures of the girls that they was with. So I guess from there, it was like, oh, what you doing? They got into an altercation. They must have put their hands on him, and then he retaliated by slashing them.
Under Wisconsin's statutory framework, conduct that initiates or escalates the confrontation bears directly on the availability of the self-defense claim. The question the jury's verdict raises is what the witness accounts of MYUU's conduct before the stabbings began. The escalation, the refusal to leave, the harassment of the group established about the claim at its foundation. Specifically, whether the conduct witnesses attributed to MYUU in the period before force was used was consistent with the legal posture required to assert self-defense, or whether it constituted the initiating conduct the statute treats as disqualifying. Samantha Serio was a senior gymnast at Auburn University. Within collegiate gymnastics, she carried a reputation built on consistency and discipline, qualities she had developed across years of competition and focused training at the collegiate level. On April 5, 2019, she competed at the NCAA regional held in Baton Rouge, performing a floor routine. The pass she executed during that routine was one from her established training catalog, not a new movement, not an experiment. It was part of a program built through years of repetition. Gymnastics floor landings require precise absorption of significant impact force through the lower extremities, with joint stability dependent on the exact angle and distribution of that force, meaning small deviations in landing geometry can produce forces that exceed what the joint structure can withstand. During the landing, her legs came down in a position her body was unable to absorb. The result, 2 dislocated knees, with multiple torn ligaments across both legs. Medical staff entered the floor. She was removed from the arena by stretcher. The injury brought her gymnastics career to an end that night. Serio survived and recovered from the injuries. She went on to build a life outside gymnastics and did not return to competition. The pass she was performing had been trained. It was not new and it was not experimental. It was part of the sequence she had executed in practice in competition before. What that established training history raises is a specific question about the geometry of repetition. Every prior execution of that pass produced a successful completion. This one did not. The margin between those two outcomes is not found in the movement itself. The movement was the same. It is found in the landing geometry, in the specific angle and distribution of force in that particular repetition, in the fraction of a degree or timing that distinguishes a landing the body can absorb from one it cannot. What the confirmed training history of this pass establishes is not that the movement was unsafe. It establishes that the range of possible outcomes on any given repetition includes a documented one, and that the number of successful prior completions provides no guarantee that the next will also be.
The intersection in Warren back open after a driver on the run from police loses control and is killed in a crash.
On December 26, 2023, 2 patrol officers in Warren, Michigan, observed a red Chevrolet Cruze traveling near Van Dyke Avenue. In the vicinity of Stevens Road, the vehicle's license plate appeared to be expired. Officers activated their lights and conducted a traffic stop.
Wood.
The window broke.
Can you put the car in park, please?
Here's the park. Here's the park.
So the reason I stopped you is because the plate's expired on the car. Yeah.
I'm just coming from work.
Oh yeah? Is this your car?
No, it's my girlfriend. I live down the street.
Do you have your license with you and
no
registration insurance?
I don't have my license.
Nothing?
At the vehicle, the officer explained the basis for the stop. The driver identified the car as belonging to his girlfriend. When asked for identification, the driver indicated he had none on his person. The officer requested that the driver exit the vehicle. At that point, the driver shifted into drive and accelerated away from the scene.
Literally, I'm just coming from work.
Where do you work at? Okay. All right. What I gotta have you do is just hop out for me real quick, man, just because you don't have your license on you, okay?
Officers pursued in their patrol vehicle. Per police, who subsequently reviewed the dashcam footage, the pursuit lasted approximately 3 minutes from start to finish. During that interval, the driver wove through traffic and drove over lawns and grass-covered areas. The vehicle moved through a field in the vicinity of Lawrence Avenue, near 10 Mile Road, before returning to the roadway and continuing west. Officers indicated speeds throughout the chase fell in the range of approximately 50 to 70 miles per hour.
Just parallel. All right, we got the lead again from center line. He's jumping through the grass just south of 10 and east on Lawrence. Somebody go to Sherwood and 10 Mile for me. All right, we're by that apartment complex just east of Sherwood, coming out to 10. All right, west on 10. You're good, clear, sorry. Yep.
Vehicle pursuits initiated from routine traffic stops are a documented category of law enforcement incident where the decision to flee is correlated in official records with outstanding warrants, unlicensed driving, and the presence of contraband, meaning the reason for flight is often established retrospectively through evidence recovered after the pursuit concludes. The driver reached the junction of Ryan Road with 10 Mile Road at high speed. The traffic signal at that intersection was displaying red. The driver did not slow down or apply the brakes.
All right, approaching Ryan. Center lane. All right, he's slowing for Ryan. It's a red. Oh, fuck. 1050 into a box truck. He's underneath the box truck. Airbags deployed. Let's shut this intersection down.
A Chevrolet Cruze entered the intersection and struck a Ford F-150 pickup. The force of that collision propelled the Cruze forward and into the undercarriage of a Penske box truck positioned within the intersection. The Cruze came to rest beneath the box truck's frame, its structure severely compressed by the impact. Firefighters arrived and worked to extract the driver from the wreckage. He was the sole occupant of the Cruze at the time of the collision. He was confirmed deceased at the scene. None of the other parties involved in the collision sustained physical injuries. Officers examining the scene discovered a loaded handgun resting on the floorboard adjacent to the driver's seat. Police stated the weapon had previously been flagged as stolen. A subsequent investigation of the driver's background also identified a suspended license, an outstanding warrant for his detention, and prior felony convictions. The Warren Police Commissioner stated that the entire sequence of events could have been prevented had the driver complied with the initial traffic stop. The two confirmed facts recovered after the pursuit, an active arrest warrant and a stolen firearm on the floorboard, were both items that a completed traffic stop would have brought to light. The decision to flee rather than comply with the stop meant that at the moment the stop was initiated, neither fact was known to the officers conducting it. What those two facts together establish is a specific question about what the driver had to gain from flight and what compliance would have produced. An active warrant meant that compliance would have resulted in immediate detention. A stolen firearm beside the seat meant that compliance would have produced a weapons charge independent of any other offense. The question those confirmed facts raise is not whether the driver was aware that those conditions existed. It is whether the decision to flee, evaluated against what the post-crash investigation confirmed, reflected a calculation about what a completed stop would have produced and a determination to prevent that outcome rather than submit to it. In January 2025, on the night Philadelphia's NFC Championship win was celebrated, large crowds gathered in the streets near Center City. Among those present was Tyler Sabapathy, 18 years old, a first-year student at Temple University. He had relocated to the city from Toronto to pursue a degree in sports science and exercise. He also competed with Temple's club gymnastics squad, a gymnast carrying a decorated record exceeding 120 medals. During the celebration, Tyler climbed a light pole as those nearby cheered and filmed the moment. At some point, his grip slipped. He fell and struck the concrete below, sustaining a severe injury to his head. He was transported to Jefferson Hospital and placed in critical condition. On January 28, 2025, Tyler Sabathia passed away from the injuries he had sustained. He was 18 years old at the time. Athletic training and balance and strength developed skill specific to the surfaces, equipment, and conditions of that training environment. With the transfer of those skills to an uncontrolled surface, such as a metal pull over concrete, representing a fundamentally different set of physical variables than those trained for. Tyler's gymnastics career had produced in excess of 120 medals, a documented record of competitive performance requiring precise balance, upper body strength, and controlled physical movement. That record establishes what his training was designed for and what conditions it produced. The question it raises is not whether his capabilities were real, it is what his confirmed training environment, gymnasium surfaces, competition equipment, controlled conditions had in common with a metal pull over concrete in an outdoor urban setting during a large street gathering. The skills developed across years of competition are specific to the variables of the environments in which they were built. What the confirmed biographical record does not establish is that those skills transferred to the physical demands of that night's conditions, and what the documented outcome establishes is that the difference between the two environments was not bridged by his athletic history, however extensive that history was. On April 28, 2019, in the early morning hours, a video that had originated from Snapchat began circulating online. The footage appeared to document the moments immediately preceding a fatal crash on Richmond Road in Berkshire Park in Western Sydney. The driver of the vehicle was Shania McNeil, 21 years old, behind the wheel of a Suzuki Baleno. Two passengers, Hazel Wildman and Peta Hunter, as investigators later confirmed, were seated in the car at the time. The footage shows the camera's light directed at Shania's face as she turned her attention toward the phone that was capturing her, rather than the road, in the darkness extending beyond the windshield. The headlights of oncoming vehicles could be seen approaching. Within the footage, the passengers could be heard actively reacting as the vehicle moved along the road. At one point, someone called out Shania's name. Her expression shifted, a visible change from her prior state to one that captured the moment of recognition, the sudden awareness of danger in the vehicle's path. The Suzuki Baleno crossed into the opposing lane. It struck a Nissan Micra in a head-on collision at approximately 1:15 a.m. When emergency crews reached the scene, individuals from the public were already present on site and had begun attempting to assist those inside the vehicles. Head-on collisions at combined closing speeds generate impact forces that exceed what vehicle safety structures can fully mitigate, with the outcome for occupants determined by the velocity of each vehicle at the moment of contact and the geometry of the collision. CPR was performed on Shania McNeil at the scene. She did not survive. Her two passengers were injured. One required mechanical extraction from the vehicle before being transported to Westmead Hospital. The other was able to exit unassisted. The two occupants of the Nissan Micra, a 61-year-old man and a 39-year-old passenger, were both conveyed to hospital for medical attention. Police treated the Snapchat footage as a significant element of the investigation, examining it for detail about the events immediately preceding the collision.
Silly thing to do to distract the driver and to make sure that passengers are well aware of their responsibilities of being in a motor vehicle.
The video is now the centre of the police investigation.
The disturbing thing about the video is the distraction. Anything in a vehicle that takes the driver away from the attention of being eyes on the road and eyes watching cars coming the way is a potentially fatal situation. In this case, it appears it was.
Reports had suggested that passengers may have been offering encouragement to Shania during the period when the vehicle moved into oncoming traffic, a detail investigators reviewed through the footage. The footage had been distributed to dozens of people via Snapchat prior to knowledge of the crash becoming public. In the period that followed, it circulated more broadly. In the period following the crash, photographs appeared online. They depicted the two passengers who had survived, posed for pictures in their hospital rooms wearing neck braces. The photographs attracted public criticism. Shania McNeil's family in documented reporting directed attention to what the crash represented for them, the death of a 21-year-old woman, and what that loss meant for those closest to her. The footage documents a specific sequence. Shania's expression, visible to the camera, shifts in the moments immediately before the impact. The shift is confirmed by the recording, a transition that the footage shows occurring between one point and the next, in the interval that separated the moment of apparent recognition from the moment of the collision. What that confirmed sequence establishes is a question about the interval itself, specifically what the footage shows about how much time elapsed between the expression change, the moment the recording captured as recognition of the danger ahead, and the collision. The footage does not record a long delay between those two moments. What it records is a question of whether the time that existed in that interval between recognition and impact was sufficient for any corrective action to have altered the outcome. In March 2017, a crash occurred on the Kazan-Dubyazi highway in the Zelenodolsky district near Kazan, in the Republic of Tatarstan, Russia. The driver of the vehicle involved was Satora Baratova, 23 years old. She was operating a Daewoo Matiz, a compact vehicle commonly in use in the region at the time. The highway carried a regular volume of traffic, including public transport vehicles operating in both directions on the route. At the time of the crash, Baratova was live streaming part of her drive on social media. The phone had been set up so that viewers of the broadcast could see her face as she drove and spoke toward the camera. She interacted with the stream as the vehicle moved along the highway, responding to viewers, speaking toward the phone, maintaining the broadcast while simultaneously navigating traffic. Live streaming while driving creates a sustained attentional demand that differs from a single glance at a phone, requiring repeated visual engagement with the screen to monitor comments, adjust positioning, and maintain the broadcast, meaning the attentional disruption is not limited to isolated moments but distributed across the duration of the stream. The footage captured during the broadcast itself documents what occurred in the minutes leading to the crash. Throughout the stream, Baratova repeatedly redirected her attention between the road ahead and the phone. The car is visible drifting within its lane during intervals when her attention shifted to the phone. The drift was not immediately corrected. The vehicle continued moving gradually toward the opposing lane. A passenger bus was traveling in the opposite direction on the same highway. The two vehicles were converging. Neither driver had sufficient time to avoid the impact that followed. The Daewoo Matiz struck the bus in a head-on impact. The live stream ended at that moment. Baratova was pronounced dead at the scene. Emergency responders who had been dispatched to the location arrived but could not save her. The injuries she sustained in the collision were determined to be fatal upon their arrival. Several passengers aboard the bus were injured in the collision.
Последствия аварии на камеру мобильного снял кто-то из очевидцев. Эти кадры сделаны через несколько минут после ДТП. По некоторым данным, машину занесло. Иномарка вылетела на встречную полосу и столкнулась с автобусом.
According to reports, 5 individuals required medical treatment, including one child who was present with family members at the time. No fatalities were recorded among the bus occupants following the collision. The footage investigative value was significant. In most traffic collisions, reconstructing the sequence of events prior to impact depends on the physical evidence gathered at the scene, the position of vehicles, damage patterns, skid marks, and the accounts of witnesses. In this case, investigators had something rare: a continuous video record that showed the car's movement in the approaching bus in real time, beginning before the collision and ending at the moment of impact. The footage documented the drift across a lane boundary in the close distance to the oncoming vehicle. That made reconstruction of the approach sequence unnecessary. The footage itself was the record. The crash was subsequently covered in Russian media in the context of distracted driving behavior. The footage documents a specific sequence with precision: the car drifting toward the opposing lane while Satora's attention was directed at the phone, a recorded visible event that preceded the collision. The recording captures the drift beginning, continuing, and not correcting. What it does not show is an input at the wheel that reversed the vehicle's trajectory during the interval. The question the confirmed footage raises is what the sequence establishes about the time available between the visible onset of the drift and the collision that followed. Specifically, the footage establishes 2 points: the moment the drift becomes visibly apparent in the recording, and the moment the live stream ends at impact. What exists between those 2 points is the interval the footage captures, and what that interval documents is the question of whether a corrective opportunity was available within it. If the footage shows a protracted drift, a slow, extended movement across a lane over a measurable span of time, that establishes one answer. If the footage shows a compressed interval between drift onset and impact, that establishes a different one. What the confirmed footage record raises as a question about the physical conditions of the crash is which of those two possibilities the recording documents, and whether what the footage shows about the duration of that interval is consistent with a window in which correction was physically available. Nora Whitaker had walked away from gymnastics at some point before this session. At a later stage, she chose to return. When she came back, she did so alone, working without a spotter, with no other person present in the facility. The apparatus she selected was the uneven bars. The sequence she had set out to perform that day depended on exact timing from start to finish. Uneven bars routines require continuous script transitions and aerial releases that depend on precise timing and body position, meaning that a deviation at any point in a transition can compound through the movement rather than self-correct. She began the sequence. During an airborne transition, she lost control. Her body fell and made contact with the mat below. Her neck bore the full impact of the landing. Nora Whitaker did not survive. Solo training in gymnastics removes the spotter's function, which in supervised practice provides both a physical safeguard during aerial elements and a real-time external assessment of body position that the gymnast cannot self-monitor during the movement itself. No cause for the loss of control had been confirmed beyond the fall itself. No date and no location have been specified. What the confirmed circumstances of this session establish is a specific question about the interval between the point at which control was lost and the moment of landing. At that interval, the gymnast was alone. No spotter was present. What the confirmed absence of another person on the premises removes from that interval is not retrospective documentation or review. It is the category of physical intervention that a spotter's presence would have made available in that specific moment. Rope jumping is an extreme sport in which participants leap from an elevated structure while secured to climbing ropes configured to absorb the fall and arrest the descent before reaching the ground. The jump documented here took place from a bridge in Georgia's Mlovi district, situated close to Tbilisi State University. The total height exceeded 40 meters. The intended controlled free fall was approximately 33 meters, with the equipment designed to stop participants before they made contact with the ground. The location had been used for rope jumping on prior occasions. According to the organizers, jumps numbering in the hundreds had been completed successfully at that site with comparable equipment. On the day of this incident, Miriam Kandashvili, 23 years old, and Goga Goletiani, 25 years old, jumped together from the bridge. Both were attached to each other by ropes. Spectators had gathered on the bridge structure and were watching the jump. The system designed to arrest their fall failed during the descent. The pair did not stop. They continued falling through the air and made contact with the river's rocky bed below. Load-bearing attachment points in rope-based extreme sports are subject to documented engineering standards that specify rated holding strength, material compatibility, and failure thresholds, with improvised substitutions representing a departure from those standards at the component most critical to stopping the participants' descent. Investigators later suggested that the failure may have originated at the location on the bridge where the ropes were secured. According to reports, a locking mechanism sourced from a car seatbelt assembly had been used to attach the ropes to the bridge. Those same reports indicated that this improvised attachment may have detached during the descent. Whether the failure originated at the attachment point or within within the ropes themselves remained under investigation. Authorities opened a formal inquiry and questioned the organizers. Miriam Kandashvili was killed at the scene. Goga Golitiani was transported by emergency services to a hospital, where he died from the injuries he had sustained. Both deaths occurred on the same day as the incident. The confirmed attributed detail at the center of the investigation is specific. Reports indicated the ropes had been secured to the bridge via a locking component sourced from a car seatbelt assembly, a mechanism drawn from an automotive application rather than designed for load-bearing use in rope jumping. Those same reports indicated that this attachment may have detached during the incident. The question that detail raises is not about the outcome, which the record documents. It's about what the confirmed use of an improvised component at that attachment point establishes about the safety standards applied to this setup. Rope-based extreme sports apply engineering standards to load-bearing attachment points specifically because those points represent the location where all force from a descending participant is transferred to the structure. What the confirmed use of a non-purpose-built component at the bridge attachment point establishes is a specific question about the margin between what that setup was engineered to withstand and the conditions it was expected to perform under, and whether substituting an improvised component at the single point where descent termination was anchored was consistent with that margin, or whether it introduced a gap in the safety system that had not been identified before the jump. Stardust Racers was a dual launch coaster at Universal's Epic Universe in Orlando, engineered to simulate two comets in parallel flight and achieving a peak speed of 62 miles per hour while its cars crossed paths, twisted, and built speed through the course. On September 17, 2025, Kevin Rodriguez Zavala, 32 years old, boarded the ride alongside his girlfriend. Kevin used a wheelchair. He had limited lower body support, which meant that once the coaster began moving, he lacked the capacity to stabilize himself against the ride's forces, as other riders could. Restraints were checked and seats were locked before the train departed. As later reports indicated, Kevin's lap bar required multiple attempts before it was confirmed secured. His girlfriend, in the adjacent seat, sensed before departure that something was wrong. High-speed roller coaster forces, particularly during drops and rapid acceleration, generate significant G-forces that require riders to engage lower body musculature and brace against forward and lateral displacement, with that stabilization function absent for riders with confirmed limited lower body support. During the drop and subsequent acceleration, Kevin's body was thrown forward. His girlfriend attempted to hold on to him from her position in the adjacent seat. She was unable to do so against the forces generated by the ride. She observed him pitch forward and make contact with his head. When the train reached the station, Kevin had become unresponsive.
The hand was too low. He doesn't have any support on his leg. They pushed it about 3 times, maybe 4.
Who pushed you? The rider worker?
Yeah. I saw him on the first drop. I saw him hit his head. I tried to hold him. I couldn't hold him. Another one, he hit his head.
So
He just went up and hit.
So the seat was loose the whole time?
It looked like it was tight, but it wasn't because I said he doesn't have support on his leg, so he can't just hold support so he can just stay in place. That's all I can remember, because I lost my glasses halfway up the ride. All I know, he kept hitting his head. I tried to hold him so he doesn't hit his head anymore, but he was...
Emergency responders arrived and CPR was administered. Witnesses described the scene at the platform as chaotic. Kevin was transported to a hospital. He did not survive. His death was ruled accidental. The confirmed cause was multiple blunt force injuries.
I don't know if you caught it, supervisors or inbound.
They're asking how they got the door.
Oh, we're gonna close. He can cancel. You can cancel on when this goes. 2 minutes.
I'm holding.
I got the arm, Jaden. Perfect. I got a 2 minute timer going.
Cool. Got a timer going.
All good?
Universal stated that its ride systems operated as designed, State investigators separately concluded the equipment had performed within proper parameters. No mechanical failure was identified. The confirmed institutional findings that the equipment operated properly and no mechanical failure occurred established what the investigation did and did not resolve. A finding that equipment operated as designed is a statement about the mechanical state of the ride. What it does not resolve is a relationship between a ride system performing within its specified parameters and the forces that system generates inside the seat of a rider with confirmed limited lower body support. The question those findings leave open is not whether the ride failed by mechanical standards. By the confirmed record, it did not. It is whether the confirmed absence of a mechanical failure, combined with the confirmed absence of lower body bracing capacity, is sufficient to account for what occurred between departure and the train's return, and what the confirmed finding of proper equipment function establishes about the protection that function provides for all the riders the system is built to carry. On a spring break night in Spanaway, Washington, a party gathered inside a house within a gated community. At 10:43 p.m., the first 911 call reached dispatch. It was categorized as a noise complaint. It was not treated as urgent. Dispatch prioritization systems triage incoming calls based on the initial classification provided by the caller, with calls classified as noise complaints assigned a lower urgency tier than calls reporting active violence, meaning the classification assigned at intake determines the response timeline regardless of subsequent escalation on the ground.
911, what are you reporting?
Hi, yeah, I've got a bunch of drunk kids at a house party in a gated community. I really need police here. I had 10 cars in front of my house alone. This is crazy. You know, this is just so crazy, and something needs to be done. I don't know if anybody else has called the police on this house party, but I can hear the music, and I'm at least 6 or 7 houses away.
At 11:17 p.m., another call was placed from the area.
I called earlier about a crazy house party, and it's still raging on, and there's like 100 underage kids. I already told the kids that I called the police, and they don't care. Now they're all peeling out of here. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Yep.
At 12:14 a.m., additional calls continued coming in.
What are you reporting?
Fights in the street at a party across the street, a bunch of high school and college kids. About 200 people. Yeah.
Do you know the address, sir? Okay.
Now the grown-ups are coming out and yelling, and they're military, so it's about to get pretty bad. I'm with 911 right now. It's getting crazy.
Oh yeah, I've dealt in high school kids. One kid said he was still in high school. He was out on the front trying to calm things down.
Yeah, they're all over the streets, like in our yard, the neighbor's yards, across the street yard. They're just running everywhere.
This is my 3rd time calling tonight. There are like 100 kids underage doing drugs. I'm so sorry that I'm this person, but it's after midnight, and I've called in several times about this crazy house party that's going on in my neighborhood.
People are out of control. I don't know if you could hear the noise in the background, but they're having a good old time.
A deputy was dispatched at 11:45 p.m. Before that deputy reached the scene, they were redirected to a call of higher priority. No law enforcement had arrived by the time the shooting began. The party had stayed at the routine call classification until shots were fired.
What is that?
There's now a physical fight going on, and they're screaming in chaos at this party.
Okay,
so
got
if you
it.
could please get somebody here. They are screaming at the top of their lungs, and they are fighting. Yep. There's gunfire! There's gunfire!
Get
Oh my
yourself.
gosh!
Stay safe, sir.
Gunfire! You need to get somebody here! Are you there? 911!
Yep, I'm here. I'm still here.
911, there's
Yep,
gunfire.
Keep yourself. I've let the units know, sir.
But I just heard about 9 to 10 rounds go off in simultaneous function.
You know who has a gun?
Said so. No, no, I don't know. I don't know who has a gun. But I did get my gun, and I'm standing inside my house with a gun.
Keep yourself safe, okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna stay on the line with you, okay?
I said so. I said so. Man, I've been calling since 10 p.m.
There's shots fired. There's shots fired. Can you please? Okay. Too late now. You guys waited forever. Someone shot in the street. There's someone shot in the street. I'm sorry that I'm upset, but you're asking me all these questions, and I called 3 times. Oh my gosh, that poor kid. You need to get them out here now. And that was like 20 gunshots in the middle of the street. We told you guys 20 minutes to get out here.
Okay.
200 people. Party.
And are people
jumping
actively
the street
fighting?
Yeah, they were fighting. We called 10 minutes ago.
The car went by with somebody standing out of the sunroof, and then pow, 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 pow.
Yeah, I called a little while ago about a party that was going on at my neighbor's house. It looks like shots were fired. I think the cops are just pulling up, though.
When deputies did arrive, approximately 30 seconds after the shooting had already occurred, the road was densely lined with parked vehicles. Access to the scene was difficult. A teenage boy was found lying in the roadway, and officers immediately began life-saving measures. Multiple other victims had already been transported to hospitals before deputies reached the scene. The crowd had scattered, some on foot, others in vehicles. The road held debris, shattered glass, red Solo cups, and spent shell casings. Investigators collected 2 firearms from the scene, along with multiple shell casings. Surveillance footage subsequently confirmed the sequence. 2 teenagers exchanged gunfire near the driveway, with rounds crossing the road into the crowd. One survivor, questioned afterward, stated she had not seen who fired. 6 people had been shot. By the following afternoon, 2 of them had died. Joaquin Ramirez, 15 years old, and Hector Gonzalez Valdez, 19 years old, were the 2 fatalities. 4 others were hospitalized with serious injuries.
Keep walking, stop. Turn around.
The youngest victim was 15. Isaiah David Williams, 17 years old, was taken into custody and charged as an adult. The charges included first-degree murder on 2 counts, along with a charge of illegally possessing a firearm. Detectives stated that both Ramirez and Gonzalez Valdez had also been armed at the time. Williams himself had sustained a gunshot wound during the exchange. Court records show prior adjudications from February 2024, including a charge of possessing a firearm unlawfully and multiple assault charges. Bail opened at $2 million before being reduced to $1 million. Williams is held in custody, awaiting trial at Pierce County Superior Court. A second arrest followed days later. Christopher Lee Cobb, 18 years old, was charged with first-degree assault. Footage from surveillance cameras showed Cobb discharging a weapon across the road toward one of the victims. Prosecutors stated that the absence of further fatalities was a matter of luck rather than accuracy. Cobb's weapon was not recovered. Prior to this incident, Cobb has been removed from Todd Beamer High School. The expulsion resulted from possession of a firearm on campus. Bail was set at $100,000. Cobb is held without bail, awaiting trial in Pierce County Superior Court. The 2 confirmed dispatch facts from that night are specific. The first 911 call was categorized as a noise complaint and received no urgent response, and the deputy dispatched at 11:45 p.m. was redirected before arriving. The result was that the scene had no law enforcement presence until the shooting was already over. The question those 2 classifications raise is what the response capacity available at the moment the shooting began. A scene that had been generating calls for more than an hour and a half, classified throughout its routine, establishes about the interval between the escalation on the ground and the point at which the dispatch system's intake classification of the incident was capable of producing an arrival. On February 12, 2010, at Canada's Whistler Sliding Center, Nodar Kumaritashvili, 21 years old, a luge athlete from Georgia, began a training run. The session took place hours prior to the 2010 Winter Olympics opening ceremony. Prior to the run, a number of athletes had raised concerns about the track's speed, describing it as dangerously fast. Luge tracks are designed with specific start positions calibrated to manage maximum entry speeds into each curved section, with the start position representing a primary control variable that affects peak velocity throughout the entire descent. Nodar descended from the men's starting position. As he reached the final portion of the course, speed built beyond what the course could contain. He entered the final curves with velocity that had become extremely high. The sled rose too far up the wall. He attempted an adjustment to the trajectory. The sled snapped into a crosswise trajectory. Nodar was ejected. He was thrown clear of the track's sidewall and struck a steel support pole exposed at that section at approximately 143.6 kilometers per hour.
Ever seen an accident like that before? No, I've never seen anyone fly off the track. We see sleds flying out of the track every once in a while, but nothing like that.
Officials and medical personnel arrived at the site immediately. He was found motionless at trackside. CPR was performed on location. He was subsequently transferred by air to a hospital in the vicinity.
Because of the
compassion and the solidarity that we felt from everyone around us. Despite of this tragic event, our team will carry on with the dream of Nodar and compete on his honor.
Nodar Kumaritashvili's death was confirmed later that day. When the opening ceremony took place that evening, Georgia's team entered in black armbands. Following the crash, officials restructured the course layout. The luge starting position for men was moved downward, a confirmed change made to reduce speeds. That post-crash modification is a confirmed institutional action. It establishes that the start position was identified after the fatality as a variable requiring adjustment in order to reduce the speeds generated by the descent. What the decision to lower the start does not confirm by itself is whether the track conditions at the time of Nodar's run fell within the parameters that had been judged appropriate before his run began. What it does confirm is that the start position in place during his descent was not the position those responsible for the track chose to maintain once the outcome of that descent had been recorded. This footage captures a terrifying moment when a tourist plunged approximately 130 feet from a cliff while attempting to take a selfie with his phone. The hiker was standing near the edge of a rocky outcrop at the Huaying Mountain Scenic Area in Guang'an, China, when he appeared to lose his footing. Witnesses reported that part of the cliff edge seemed to give way beneath them, causing him to fall from the popular viewpoint in Sichuan province. Remarkably, the man survived the accident and later shared an update on social media, saying he was incredibly fortunate to be alive. On July 29, 2019, the Yangxian Water Amusement Facility in Longjing, China, was operating its wave pool in normal conditions. Guests had entered the water for what appeared to be a standard session, floating on inflatables, standing in the shallow area, positioned throughout the pool while the wave machine cycled within its intended parameters. Then the behavior of the water changed. Wave pool control systems use electric sequencing to regulate the timing and amplitude of each wave cycle, with power interruptions to the control system documented as a failure mode that can remove the amplitude ceiling and allow the mechanical components to generate waves beyond intended parameters. The wave grew significantly larger than the pool's normal operating range. A powerful surge moved through the water, knocking people from their positions, throwing riders from inflatables, and forcing individuals into one another. The disturbance continued until the machine stopped and guests were directed out of the water. 44 people were injured. 5 were taken to the hospital. Reported injuries included fractured ribs and additional trauma. No fatalities occurred. Investigators attributed the case to a power cut that had compromised the electronic control system for the wave machine. According to their findings, that damage caused the system to generate waves substantially stronger than the machine had been designed to produce. The investigative conclusion identified the power cut as the point at which normal operational constraints on the machine were removed. In January 2020, Hernan Cobos and Noelia Medina, partners, arrived at Aquapolis, a water park in Mar del Plata, Argentina, with a group of friends. During the visit, they decided to use a spiral water slide, an attraction where riders sit in a shared inflatable ring and descend through a channeled course. They retrieved an inflatable ring, carried it to the starting position, sat together in the ring, and were pushed into the slide by staff. As they neared the lower section of the descent, the ring moved toward the side of the channel. At the point where the ring made contact with the wall, the slide structure failed. The material separated. Hernan's leg contacted the broken section and was cut. Noelia was displaced from the slide and made contact with her head and body against the structure in the process. Staff escorted both of them to the first aid station. According to Noelia and Hernan, approximately 40 minutes passed before the ambulance arrived. Noelia required 5 stitches to close a wound on her head and received medication to address bruising and swelling across her body. Hernan's injury was to his leg, a deep laceration that, according to reports, measured approximately 25 centimeters, requiring medical treatment. According to Noelia and Hernan, the park provided initial assistance following the incident. In their account, however, the park did not subsequently follow up with them or take responsibility given the recovery period they were dealing with. The structural failure in this incident occurred at a specific location, the point where the inflatable ring had made contact with the side of the slide channel. That detail establishes the geometry of the failure, not a random location along the structure. but the precise point where a physical force was applied against the material. Slide structures in continuous use absorb repeated contact from riders and equipment at consistent points along the descent path. The question the confirmed position of the failure raises is whether the section of the slide at that contact point represented a location already carrying cumulative stress from prior use, in which case the failure was preceded by a condition that developed before Noelia and Hernan arrived, or whether the structural integrity at that point had not yet been identified as compromised, meaning the failure revealed the vulnerability that existed in the structure before their descent began. What the confirmed location of the failure does not resolve on its own is which of those two conditions was present at the time they entered the slide. On February 24, 2014, Alan Gill, 64 years old, disappeared in Cornwall, England. During daylight hours, investigators following CCTV records traced him as far as Newquay bus station, where footage showed him at the station queuing for a bus to Perranporth, a beachside town. The following morning, his body was found on the beach at Perranporth. He was naked. A sock and headphones had been placed inside his mouth. His body showed injuries affecting the head and chest as well as the hands, injuries that investigators determined did not align with death by drowning. Police opened a suspicious death inquiry. His body was found less than a day after he disappeared. The case remains unresolved. What the confirmed injury profile establishes is a specific question. The injuries to his head and chest and to his hands were determined inconsistent with drowning, yet the body was found on a beach. What that finding does not answer is what those injuries establish about how and where they were sustained, and what the body was doing at a beach location when the confirmed cause of death was not the water. On that day, officers were called to a chaotic and emotional scene after reports of a shooting near a church. What they arrived to was far more than just another call. It was a moment filled with panic, confusion, and heartbreak. Witnesses described hearing multiple gunshots ring out in broad daylight. According to what officers gathered on scene, an anonymous caller had reported that 2 young males had been shot. By the time police arrived, the shooter had already fled the area in a pickup truck, leaving behind only fragments of evidence and a rapidly deteriorating situation.
Shit, man. Is that a shit, man? Did you blow my balls or something?
I can't find it, man. There's an entry wound right there. Do we have any suspect vehicles? Oh, no, it's right here in the penis.
Negative, I don't believe any police saw anything.
Please don't fucking make me lose my balls, man. So you guys were just driving by?
We lived on the block. We were leaving our home and we're about to get in the truck to go to work early, and we heard like 6 or 7 shots. And then we came this way, and if the kid, if he didn't stick his hand out, I wouldn't have seen him.
So what do you mean stick his hand out?
He stuck his hand out like this.
Like, okay, waving you down?
Yeah, and then we stopped right there and backed up, and then he started calling.
All right, man, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to pull your shorts down to help.
All right, go ahead, man.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're ready?
Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Okay.
Code 116.
Do you see an exit?
Is that hella bad, homie? You gotta fucking tell me, man.
Negative. Let's roll him on the side, see if there's a exit wound.
There is right here.
Okay.
On this left, right.
Okay, and then you guys called?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a cigarette, there's this bag. Hey, we have a shooting. We have one down, possibly DOA right now, working on him. Got one shot in the groin. It sounded like the echoing, it could have been coming from back that way.
Okay.
So
it looks like, yeah, the footprints come this way through the stuff, at least my impression of where we're at.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Yeah. Do you have a pulse? Okay, let's try at least compressions.
1, 2, 3. 121.
When officers reached the victims, the severity of the situation became immediately clear. One of the boys, later identified as 16-year-old Gavin, had already succumbed to his injuries before help could arrive. The second victim, 18-year-old Daniel, was still alive but in critical condition, suffering from a gunshot wound that required urgent medical attention. Officers and first responders worked quickly, trying to assess injuries and provide aid under intense pressure. At the same time, emotions were running high around them. Family members and witnesses were distraught, some yelling, others struggling to process what had just happened. The reality of the situation was settling in all at once. While some officers remained with the victims, others began canvassing the surrounding area for information. It was during this process that they learned nearby homes may have captured the incident on surveillance cameras. Investigators approached one residence where cameras were visible. Inside, they spoke with a young man who claimed he hadn't seen anything because he had been in the shower at the time. He told officers he had only heard the gunshots and then saw people running. However, something didn't sit right with the investigators. There were inconsistencies in the story, especially when it came to the surveillance system.
Sounds like two pickups pulled up, a white one and a blue one.
Okay.
They were right in here, so he says there's no one else inside, but they got good camera. Can you start working on getting the video footage from him?
They're not involved?
No, well, we don't know.
Did you see what happened?
I don't know. I was taking a shower because, I just got a haircut.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just heard that shit. I was like, what the fuck? I seen these two little guys running that way.
Okay. What'd you hear or see? Or?
Oh, I just heard the gunshots.
How many?
I don't know, man.
You're not sure how many?
No.
Okay. Did you see anyone over here in your yard or anything like that?
Nah.
As far as your cameras, do they work?
No, they don't. We just set them up. Wires got messed up from the wind and shit. My brother moved out, so he took the system with him. I don't know.
So there's no system in there?
No, like,
okay.
it's just wire ran to his room.
Yeah. Do you mind if we just check to verify that?
Officer Welsh?
Oh, hold on. We'll go in there, okay? Because we don't know. We just had big old. So what's your first name?
Luis.
Luis. Okay, that's right.
So why don't you wait right over here?
Where's your brother's room where the system was at before?
Straight to the right.
Okay.
Moses Lake Police Department, if you're in the home, get out now.
Who else is in there?
Who else? Me dijiste que nadie más andaba adentro.
Y nomás me dijiste a mí que nomás era tu hijo.
I apologize. What was your name, sir? Luis. Luis. I'm Adam. Nice to meet you. I'm a detective with the police department. You said that nobody else is in here with you?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Did you hear anything out here?
No, I was in the shower, man.
You were in the shower?
Yeah.
Okay.
Showering, just got back from my haircut.
Okay.
Where's the camera system? You said?
It was in the room.
Which room?
No, right.
To the right. This one right here?
No, behind.
Left.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And is it easy to find?
No. Well, it's gone.
So there's no system left here?
It's just wires.
Just wires?
From what I know, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they've been bringing shit back, so.
Okay. You live here?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right. You just gotta work. Okay. We just had a shooting here nearby. So I understand that you have a recorded video surveillance here. Your video surveillance doesn't work? No? Why not, man? We need to know. Okay.
Did you see a DVR in there?
Yeah.
There is one?
Yeah. Supposedly brother moved out and took it with him. The cameras don't work.
Okay.
Dad was saying they do work earlier.
Okay. Do you want to take him to the station and you and Adam start interviewing him?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be critical. I'll start the process in the scene. We got at least 8 cases here.
Okay.
And that's what witnesses are, 7 to 8.
Okay.
The shooting, you heard the gunshots. Before that, what was Luis doing?
I don't know. Probably in his room.
Okay.
Like I said, I was just in my room.
Which one's your room? Can you hear people when they're in the bathroom? Like if they're showering?
Yeah.
And you're in your room, can you hear them?
Yeah, the TV is off.
Okay. So is it safe to say that Luis wasn't showering?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the DVR normally in your room?
Little table.
Okay. Did you see Luis go in there? Because it's in the corner now, like on the ground. Is there a reason why it would be down there?
Initially, there were suggestions that the cameras might have recorded something, but the resident claimed the system was no longer functional and that the recording device had been removed. Officers asked to check inside the home to verify this. Once inside, they found that the system was indeed missing, leaving only wiring behind. This raised immediate concerns, especially after it was revealed that someone connected to the home may have had ties to the suspect.
Did they come to your house looking for a confrontation?
They were just walking by, man.
Okay.
Literally. I had nothing to do with it. Came out, boom. That's all I see.
What with the red bag?
I seen the red bag on the floor on the ground. That's all I seen.
Okay. When we review the recorded video surveillance, it's not going to show you out here whatsoever engaging with these people.
It'll show whatever.
Okay. That's it. To the shower and that was it.
Yeah, that's my statement, man. I don't want to say anything else. You're just trying to finesse me.
No, I'm not, man. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, you are.
What do you mean? No, I'm saying is you're in the shower for 20 minutes, and then what happened then? Did you hear gunshots?
Yeah, I told you at my house. I heard gunshots. I look at that window. Red bag right there.
Okay.
All right. You guys told to my house, questioning me like, what the f, you know?
I was just engaged in general conversation with you. That's all.
Now you guys, every single one of you asked me the same question. Like, damn.
I feel weird like that. Okay. Oh, I'm not used to being around you motherfuckers. Okay. Now here's the deal. I haven't reviewed video surveillance. The guys are doing that right now. Don't think that I'm pressuring you or I'm putting words in your mouth, because if you weren't there, dude, you weren't there. But if you were there and these guys came to target you, super important that I know that now versus just seeing this video. And that's what I'm getting at. I do know that these youngsters have been doing drive-bys on just random homes of Southside guys, affiliates, anything like that. I do know that. And that's what I'm telling you is if you're outside your house and they came to your house and targeted you, super important that I know that versus just seeing this video that shows.
Detectives began to suspect that the surveillance footage may have been intentionally tampered with or removed. Reports indicated that the homeowner's son, who was allegedly a friend of the suspect and had been nearby at the time of the shooting, may have attempted to interfere with the DVR system in an effort to prevent police from accessing the footage. As the investigation continued, the focus remained on identifying the suspect and locating the vehicle described by witnesses. Officers worked to piece together the sequence of events using physical evidence, witness statements, and any available surveillance that had not been compromised.
It's been shot up before. Yeah, so I thought it was a fist fight, so I started walking that way and boom.
You said you saw the white guy reaching into the red bag?
Yeah. You know that one of the guys died, right?
No. Yeah.
So the charges are serious. It's not just, discharging a weapon.
It's not just people shooting at each other. Oh shit, all fuckery popped off at them. You told me part of it.
Yeah, part of it. You guys got video which shows every little thing.
So why'd you f the video system?
So what happened, man? I was there. Same shit. I'm here for no reason.
There's only one truth.
Yeah, I told you what happened.
One truth, right? That includes everything.
What you want is full fucking details, names,
yes,
cars, and this and that.
Yes.
I'm not gonna give that for you. You can see it in the video. Who that truck belonged to? That was like, your buddy.
So you're scared of retaliation if you give names?
Both, bro. I think I just stay neutral.
What began as a sudden burst of violence in broad daylight quickly turned into a complex investigation involving multiple victims, a fleeing suspect, and possible interference with critical evidence. For those on scene, the impact was immediate and lasting. 2 young lives were caught in a moment of violence that unfolded without warning, leaving one family grieving and another holding on to hope as their loved one fought to survive. This footage was shared by Pedro Jose, also known as Swamp Shorts, a content creator whose work covers paddling and hiking expeditions in remote locations. On this occasion, he was moving through secluded woodland located in Russia's Kamchatka region. Moving through the forest, he came across a brown bear, a young one, positioned ahead of him on the path. Rather than stopping or increasing his distance from the animal, he began following it through the trees. He did not announce himself or create noise that would alert the bear. Throughout this approach, the bear appeared to have no awareness of its presence. It moved forward without showing any response to him.
Мне руку прокусил. Кинулся.
He approached the bear from behind and kicked it. The bear's response was immediate. It turned, produced an audible vocalization, and charged. In the footage, Pedro Jose can be heard stating that his hand had been bitten through, a statement made during the encounter itself. He was able to depart under his own power. Brown bears in their natural range are documented to respond to surprise contact or perceived threat with immediate defensive aggression, with close-range provocation representing a confirmed trigger for that response regardless of whether the animal had shown prior signs of aggression. The sequence documented in this footage is precise. Pedro Jose located the bear, followed it while it remained unaware of his presence, close to close range from behind, and applied physical force to the animal by kicking it. The bear responded with an immediate charge that resulted in a bite wound to the hand. He walked away. The two confirmed elements of that sequence, the voluntary approach to an unaware animal and the deliberate physical provocation at close range, establish a specific question about foreseeability. The behavioral response the bear produced is consistent with the documented defensive response pattern of the species to surprise contact at close proximity. What the confirmed footage sequence raises is whether the response was foreseeable at the moment provocation was applied, and what the margin between the confirmed injury outcome and a more severe one establishes about the conditions that determine how this encounter ended. A bite to the hand and the capacity to walk away represent one outcome within the range that the documented response pattern of the species would support in this context. What the confirmed record does not answer is what determined that the outcome fell at that point within the available range, and whether the factors that constrained the outcome to a survivable injury were within the control of the person who initiated the sequence by following and then physically provoking an unaware wild animal. Those in the next clip weren't so lucky though. This footage was captured and shared by Radnesh Pandey on April 25, 2015 at Everest Base Camp in Nepal. On April 25, 2015, a large earthquake struck Nepal. Within seconds of the seismic event, an avalanche descended from the mountainside toward base camp. The camp, occupied by climbers who had assembled there in the standard staging period before their summit attempts, was struck directly.
Net een gigantische aardbeving geweest. Nog bezig. Fuck. Damn. This is scary. Oh. I had earthquakes before. Wait for a minute. Oh my god. Have you had earthquakes before? Whoa, 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 whoa! Fuck! Go on, Carson, hurry!
Tents were flattened. Snow and debris were driven through the air at force. Survivors were left buried, injured, and disoriented across the site.
Ah, fuck. Help! Fuck.
The Khumbu Icefall is the primary passage connecting Everest Base Camp to the higher camps on the mountain, meaning that damage to its structure does not only affect movement through that section, but effectively closes the only viable descent route for everyone positioned above it. Climbers who were positioned at greater elevation when the earthquake struck were left stranded. The Khumbu Icefall route had sustained damage during the event, and a safe descent was no longer possible via that passage. The immediate impact of the avalanche had been concentrated at base camp. The consequence of the route damage extended to all climbers at elevation above it. The confirmed death toll reached at least 19 people. Dozens more sustained injuries. The confirmed damage to the Khumbu Icefall represents a specific category of consequence that went beyond the footprint of the avalanche itself. The avalanche struck base camp. That impact zone was visible, documented, and immediate, but the climbers who were positioned above the Khumbu Icefall when the earthquake occurred were not in the path of the avalanche. They were in a different category of danger, one that became apparent not during the event but in its aftermath, when the route that was the only viable way down was no longer passable. What that confirmed route damage established is a specific question about the scope of the event's consequences. When a descent route is damaged and the only way down is closed, what the confirmed inability to descend established about the position of those climbers is not ambiguous. They were above a barrier that the event had created, with the immediate danger behind them and the structural condition of the route below them as a new unresolved constraint on their position. You won't expect what happens in this insane police chase.
Alright, 379 slowed down, speeds of 28. Hit maneuver, hold trap.
TVI successful.
June 20th, 2023, Otero County, Colorado. A routine day on Highway 50 turns into a scene of absolute terror. In this video by the Colorado State Patrol, we see officers assisting at a crash scene. A suspect had fled from local deputies and wrecked his car before being caught. Initially, the troopers believed the situation was under control.
Hands! Get your hands up! Hands up! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! You got him?
Exit the car! Hands up!
Got me? Out of the vehicle! Out of the vehicle! Out of the vehicle!
On the ground!
I don't know what's going on! I got you! Dude!
Get out on the ground.
The f***? Hands behind your back!
I didn't do
Hands behind your back!
What's going on? Get on the ground.
Okay, I got it.
He's got a holster.
Sit in the car. Take your shoes. First, take your shoes off.
Right now,
take your shoes off. Lift up.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Okay, sit.
I got you.
Put your feet in.
They searched the man and placed him in the back of a marked patrol car. His hands were secured in handcuffs behind his back. I feel a deep sense of dread watching how fast a secure scene can fall apart. This is why I always tell people to stay vigilant even when they think the threat is gone. You should never assume a situation is handled just because someone is in the back of a cruiser. Stay alert and keep your distance from active police scenes.
So it started with the crash. That's the only reason we got involved.
In Dollar?
Crash on Road 5. On Road 5.
Oh, f***. Fella, he just stole the patrol car.
I'm gonna stay with this.
The suspect managed to slip out of his restraints while the officers were busy with the investigation. He crawled through the small divider window and into the driver's seat. A high-powered rifle was still secured inside the front of the car. Suddenly, the sirens ignited and the stolen patrol car sped away down the highway. The officers scrambled back to their vehicles to start a chase. They were now pursuing their own equipment. The suspect was using the police cruiser as a weapon against the very people who had detained him. I feel terrible for the troopers who had to make a quick decision to chase their own vehicle. This is why I respect the extreme pressure that law enforcement faces every single day. You can hear the pure desperation in the radio calls as they realize a suspect has a rifle.
91742.
I copy. Serial number, returning clear boat, no record.
Notified Penn County, we need stop sticks out for this vehicle. It is a marked patrol unit. Lights are activated.
One on Otero County Mac. We're going to be trying to catch up to this vehicle.
C14, which direction is that?
We are eastbound 50 from La Junta.
732.
I do not have eyes on him. There's 3 PD officers in front of me. I have 2 Charlie 3 on.
The chase reached speeds well over 100 miles per hour across the open road. The suspect swerved into oncoming traffic to avoid the spike strips set by the troopers. He nearly hit several innocent families in semi-trucks along the way. Troopers coordinated multiple roadblocks and stop-stick deployments. Each time they failed to stop him, the risk to the public grew.
Mark's Charger is the one that was stolen. I'm in a gray unmarked. Mark's Charger. He's driving down the middle of the lane. Get stop sticks out. As many sets as you can get.
Coming at you, Jay. First car.
Eastbound in the westbound lane. Eastbound in the westbound lane. 393. Coming up on stop sticks. Continuing eastbound. Please get a set of stop sticks on this guy.
Copy 1140.
Out. Ben 5, Ben 4. 20 now.
Am I taking this? Is that what you said? No. You want me to take this? Okay. Switch, Candy. I don't have vehicle. Where's the keys? Good, hey, good. You got the keys in it? I don't have vehicle. Where's the keys? Good sticks. We got it. You got the keys in it? Good sticks. We got to take it.
Finally, the fleeing cruiser struck a set of stop sticks near a blind rise. The tires shredded instantly and the suspect lost all control of the car. The vehicle veered across the center line and slammed into a semi-truck with incredible force. Metal folded under the impact and fire began to rise from the engine. Troopers rushed toward the burning wreck despite the heat and the danger of an explosion. They fought to pry the doors open and extract the man from the crushed cabin.
Please try again.
Calling to Cleveland Mobile. The on-call press the phone hang-up button on the steering wheel.
Purple 7, where were sticks activated?
Purple check 5. We hit him at the 416. He hit the side of a semi.
Hello? Hit the side of a semi?
Copy.
Hello? Oh, shit.
Copy 1143.
He flips the semi.
How many?
Is he still going? Negative.
Hello?
We got flame at the firewall. 1.5 miles. Right here. Right here, Jay.
We got any more fire extinguishers? Let's get them over here till we get fire.
Any bottles of water or anything that anybody's got in vehicles?
Some in here. On this other side, though.
Dump it in there. Whatever you can get in. Man, fire or steel. Vehicles down there even.
He's alive. Hey.
Hey. Hey. Talk to me. Hey, Jay. Jay.
He is driver is conscious.
You're gonna have to start moving, dude. Yeah, I got a head injury. Give me your hands. What hurts? Give me your hands. In the very back. Hey, I need you to give me your hands, dude. I got it.
Here, want me to move that computer?
Yeah. Where are you hurt, dude?
I find it haunting that a person would risk so many lives just to escape custody. This is why I think the courage of these officers is so important to highlight. You can see the smoke and flames rising as they pull the dazed man to safety. He was bleeding and confused when they loaded him into the ambulance.
That whole thing will swing out of the way. At least it would have.
I'm pouring water on it. Hey, if I can get him to give me a hand. I know. I can give him to you. Okay, I'm just getting this computer out of the way. Just give me a second. The back ain't gonna do it. Once we get this computer out of the way, you should be able to pull him out. Get it? Alright.
Here, I'm pulling him out this way. Then in the firewall. See what it looks like from the inside in case you need something to shove up under the dash. Poke a hole in the cap with a knife, squirt up under the dash. Somebody with his leg. He's ready, clear. Who's got an extinguisher? Mark's got one. Grab his legs. Get my bag, please.
The suspect died at the hospital a few hours later from his injuries. No youngsters or innocent bystanders were killed in the crash. It's a miracle that no one else was struck or wounded during the pursuit. This incident shows that danger can hide in the most unexpected places, even when someone is restrained. They can turn control into chaos in a matter of seconds. What would you do if you saw a stolen police car driving toward you on the wrong side of the road? Do you believe that dividers in patrol cars should be made of much stronger materials? Should officers be allowed to leave weapons in the front seat when a suspect is in the back? Think about how a single quick moment can change the lives of everyone on the highway. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant, friends.